All right, what's happening, everyone? So it's been a long day, to say the least. I am in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in a hotel room. It's 11:40 local time. Just finished calling a couple Big Ten games. Did Ohio State, Iowa, and then just finished IU versus Penn State. And there was a game winner at the buzzer by Anthony Leal, who's a Bloomington kid, senior, has not played a lot, has had kind of an up and down career, former Mr. Basketball, and so I kind of blew my voice out on the game winner. Game was tied, and he got put back in the final 3 seconds. So I'm gonna, Parker, I miss you too, sweetheart. My daughter in quickly. So like right in the middle of that game, my phone just starts going crazy. And I got to throw on the do not disturb because I'm in the middle of trying to call this game for the Big Ten tournament for the national radio feed on Compass Media Networks. And finally, in a commercial break, I'm like, what the hell's going on? My phone's, just nonstop. And I look and I realize, holy crap. And so to kind of put it in perspective, oh, by the way, look, I'm in a hotel. This is all I got. So I don't mind Bud Light, whatever. It's fine. But you know the rules. One beer. We roll until the end of it. It's my third beer of the night. I went to a place called Gluex, which was a great, a German beer house. And they had live music, and I was like, oh, I'd love to stay and keep drinking. But instead, I'm going to come back here and hang out with all of you. And judging by the amount of people that are in, let's get into it. So Keenan's traded. I did a pod earlier today with Chris Harris, former Chargers corner. And I did another podcast today with Daniel Popper, and those are completely and totally outdated because what I had assumed, this was going to look like moving forward is nothing like it looks. And really, I think based on what Coach Harbaugh said in his introductory press conference, General Manager Joe Ortiz said, we all just assumed that Keenan was a huge part of this moving forward. They showered him with praise, accolades. I had kind of figured Keenan, Khalil would stay, Joey, Mike might be the ones they move on from. I just figured that Joey would fetch a draft pick, that there was a team out there that would be like, look, this is one of the best defensive ends in the league. We'll take the flyer. We'll take the flyer that for whatever reason it's just been a streak of bad luck, and we'll get one of the 5 best defensive players in the league on our team while he's still in his prime and roll the dice. So this is not necessarily what I thought. So I'm going to start with this. Keenan's, an all-time Charger great. He will go down as one of their great players in the history of this franchise. But kind of thinking about how it all played out, he's the one guy that could fetch a draft pick. I don't think they could get a draft pick for Joey. And if you're able to trade the player and get off all the money and be able to take those sort of savings, combined with Khalil taking a pay cut, Joey taking a significant pay cut and betting on himself, it all kind of lines up because of how much money you're going to save and being able to reset a position that's super deep in the draft right now where you're very young with Quentin, and this may be a staff that believes in Quentin, that they think the way he was handled last year, the way he was pushed into the Mike Williams role, and that was not what he is, what his positive attributes are. He's not a downfield, X receiver. He doesn't track the ball well over his shoulder. He's a quick hitter and get your action after the catch. And they did not use him enough in that role last year. So I think you look at Josh Palmer, look at every time, he was there to replace Keenan. Guy was putting up 100-yard games. I'm a big Josh Palmer guy, so I'm just going to say that straight out. With the available cap savings they have now, personally, I would try to do let's get it this good on both sides, Josh. I'd try to do an extension for him right now. I'd see if, when you're talking about Calvin Ridley getting $92 million and you're looking at what Drake London's getting and Michael Pittman's getting, if I can get Josh Palmer on a team-friendly deal in like that $10 million a year range, I would strike at that right now. And then I think a lot of people are coming after me. for thinking that I don't want a wide receiver at 5. I've never said that. I have just said I believe this is a team that wants to stockpile draft picks and that they would probably prefer to trade out of 5. And if you trade out of 5, there isn't wide receiver value. That at that point, you're better off going into that second round and beyond and trying to find value there. Similarly to how the Seahawks found it with DK Metcalf, the Titans with A.J. Brown, the Chiefs with Rashee Rice. Obviously, the 5th rounder for Puka Nacua was an anomaly because he was hurt so much and there were medicals there. But that's kind of where my position was, is that I just assumed that they would trade back, and that's what they wanted to do, to accumulate picks. But with this move, one of the things the Ravens have always done is they have always taken best player available. And it's, to me, a very real possibility that when they put together after the combine, we got pro days and stuff, but I would assume for the most part these things are coming together now, that maybe they just have a sizable gap between Harrison, Neighbors, and Odunze and that next group. And they're like, you know what? It's too big. We've got this valuable pick. We don't anticipate we're ever going to be here again. So let's take the receiver. Let's take the receiver at 5 and maybe trade back in the second round and pick up an extra 3rd. So now you have 2 3rds and a 4th and a late 2nd, something along those lines, or an extra 4th. You can find value in those later rounds. And it's positions that they need: linebacker, interior offensive line. Like those are positions where you should be able to find starters in the later rounds. Tight end is another one. I love the tight ends that they signed. The fact that they signed Will Dissly and Hayden Hurst, once that becomes official, I need a beer. All right, much better. To me, it's kind of one of those, you can help that right tackle now. You've got Dissly, you've got Hurst, you've got the ability to help on that side. I believe in the coaching that they've brought in for the offensive line. With Devlin and Hardwick, I think they're going to get so much more out of that group that maybe they just said, all right, moving forward, reset the room. Either Neighbors, Harrison, Odunze to go with Palmer and to go with Quentin, and maybe even another receiver in one of the later rounds. And that's kind of how it works. Look, I get it, and I'll go through the comments in a minute. You get attached, man. Keenan's incredible. Just the amount of clutch catches. I can't tell you how much I loved, saying the captain with the catch, always coming up in the clutch on those 3rd downs. So, that part of me is sad because it is sad to see such a just an incredible player, someone that you think of when you think of Chargers football. You think of Keenan Allen and number 13, and that'll always be there. But at the same time, I'll say it this way, receivers over the age of 30, there aren't many. I think Keenan can be one, but there just aren't many. And the fact that Khalil took the pay cut, that Joey took the pay cut, and they said, hey, look, we're trying to get something going here. Last year they pushed all their chips in. They restructured your deal. You guys got these giant checks in converted signing bonuses. Let's see if we can get it right on this other side. Can you help us out? And the fact that that Khalil and Joey said yes and Keenan said no, and you end up getting a draft pick, so you're able to push all that money out with some compensation, it makes sense. I think there's kind of, that's how it lines up, is there's a financial part of this. And that's part of the puzzle that you're trying to figure out. This is not baseball where you pay a luxury tax. It's not basketball where you pay a luxury tax. It is a hard cap. And you've got to be able to manage that hard cap. And I'm trying to think of the best way I can say this. Like, when the Chargers were looking for a new head coach, and they said, Manny, I know I see you, so I'm gonna address you real quick, Manny, because I see you've come in a couple times. Only a 4th. They're not getting more than that. They're just not. I know it sounds crazy, but just the reality of the situation, I think, with how much money, how old he is. If you have to give him extension and you're giving him an extension into ages 32, 33, 34, 35, like it's going to be hard to get a higher pick than that. So I think to get their fourth instead of the later fourth, like I said, let's look at the fourth round. Running back, interior offensive line, linebacker, like the tight end, those are positions that you can find starters in the fourth round. And that's where that pick comes in. Get multiple picks for those non-premium positions is what, we're talking about. So exactly, he's 33. So you're talking about an extension that's going to take him into year 34, 35, 36. Like that's tough. It's going to be hard to pull a higher pick than that. So again, I want to make sure I say this right, because I think everybody knows, as much as I talked to Keenan when I was with the team and how much he would come on with us, how much I appreciate him. Like when they were searching for a new head coach, I said, I need one thing ahead of all else, a winner. Get a winner. This team has been a perennial loser, that no team has snatched defeat from the hands of victory more than this team. And to bring in someone like Jim Harbaugh that has won everywhere he has gone, Joe Ortiz in the front office, nobody has been a more consistent winner. I know it's just one Super Bowl, but in terms of being in the playoffs every year, being competitive in every game, having an identity of we're going to kick your ass for 60 minutes and you're going to feel it for 2 weeks. That's what the Ravens have done. So, that's what I wanted. And by no means am I saying Keenan's a loser. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying he has been here for a long time. And for all of the clutch stats and for all of the third down catches, maybe let's not have so many third downs. Maybe let's have more first downs so we're not in third and whatever over and over and over again. And we're not having 13-play drives and 18-play drives because you have a wide receiver that's explosive and you can push the ball down the field and you have speed. That's what I think they're sort of getting their head around. Like, hey, is this a product of personnel because our quarterback knows that this guy is available on third down and you never want to put the ball in peril, and you never want to take it. Maybe you're not taking enough chances. So, I think a lot of that is a big part of it, is resetting that room to approach the wide receiver position differently, to not be constantly in these 50-50 contested ball situations with Mike Williams, which, I think they're going to miss the heck out of him, but he just couldn't stay healthy. But to get explosives, let's get explosives down the field, man. Let's get 25-yard gains. Let's get someone, like Neighbors, Odunze, or Harrison, that level of a number one, where when you think of a number one, you think of, holy crap, if we F up this defense, we're going to pay for it in a 60-yard touchdown. So I'm looking at the moves they've made already, and I love them. I do. They've got two tight ends that can block. We haven't had a blocking tight end in 5 years here, since Hunter left. And now they've got two. We haven't had a big back. We have not had a big back, legitimate third down back. As much as I love Joshua Kelly and Austin Eckler, they run them out there on 3rd and 1 and you get nothing. Now they got Gus, Gus Bus. So to me, it's hey, these are the issues that plagued this team and led to losses. So Jack, shut up. Odunze ain't it. Then you aren't watching football. That's just dumb. You're talking about a guy that helped change the culture at Washington and guide them into a national championship game. That's ridiculous. He's incredible. He is going to be I believe he will be an incredible receiver in this league. And you cannot go wrong. Any of those three receivers, whichever way you want to go, you cannot go wrong. I don't know where this Odunze hate comes from. I pointed out he was going to light the combine on fire, and I got hit for that. What were you watching? What was I watching? What the hell were you watching? That guy, don't just look at 40 times. Look at how they move. Odunze moves with this fluidity and this smoothness that you can't teach. It's a natural gift. Go watch his gauntlet run. Watch that guy's gauntlet run. Look at how fast he's moving, how easily he tracks the ball, and just how there is not a break. There's no gather. It is just a straight run. Bang, 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 gone. It's teaching tape. So, yeah, Neighbors is great. Odunze is incredible. He is exceptional. Any of those guys. Brian Thomas is great, but I do think D5 that there's a gap there. So, wide receiver, a must at number 5. If they stick and pick, yes. If they decide to trade down, then no. Then you would wait to get one of those others, whether it's Addy, Worthy, Pearsall, McConkey, any of those receivers. But to me, this is where, if you're at 5, I feel like best player available is going to be a wide receiver. All right, here we go. Let's get you people. I think that's enough. I'm trying to think if I left anything out. No, I don't know. All right. I don't think Ortiz would ever say that Neighbors is the best he's ever scouted. He would not say anything like that publicly. But I could be wrong. So if that's the case, so be it. Not okay right now. Understand, Jonathan. Again, you get attached to these players. But at the same time, I think if you take a step back and say, okay, let's wait and let's see what this looks like. Like Jim Harbaugh went to a Super Bowl and back-to-back NFC championships with Michael Crabtree as his number 1 receiver. The guy was maybe top 25 in the league, and he did it with a dominant offensive line, a dominant defensive line, and great quarterback play. So I think that's also something to remember. Go Bears. What's up, Seamus? How you doing, bud? Good to see that you're in on this. I want to cry. Upside down pineapple. All right, hold on. Tip of the cap to Keenan Allen. I don't cry in hotels. I did not pee in an alley again. Let's see. Wear it money, give VTP. Yeah, how about that? Vic had it, man. Freaking Otani's wife. That was awesome. Raise one for Slay. Exactly. All broken. I get it. I got into all this. Should have kept K9. Disagree with that, Seamus. That guy got paid a lot of money. As much of a physical specimen as he is, had, I think, issues diagnosing and was always seemingly a beat slow. So I understand moving on from that. And you get a comp pick. So that's what they're trying to do, pile up those comp picks. They didn't give them away for nothing. They had the entire contract picked up by the Bears. They didn't have to pay a single cent of it. So you get gigantic cap relief there, and you end up getting a 4th rounder. Yes, Drunk Show is right, Tommy. Let's see. Keenan just broke up with my girlfriend of 10 years. But think of all the options that are available to you. The young, sweet lady in the form of Malik Neighbors or Roma Dunze. Cheers. Beers for Slayer, certainly. Disagree. Vince, love what the front office is doing. Jay Fields is not staying in Chicago. Absolutely not. He's the worst quarterback in the division. They're taking Caleb. Why did you call the second game late instead of the other team? I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Cheers. Feeling you. Gutted by the news. Neighbors, you're a Charger. I think it's a very real possibility. Yeah, look, the Bears are going to try to get as many options for Caleb to make it as comfortable for him as possible. And I think with the trade for Keenan now, they take a tackle, or the number 1, or take, Fatano with the number 9 pick, and you solidify that offensive line. I am not leaving PMS for greener pastures. I do the Big Ten tournament every year. Emergency show tomorrow. Didn't even find out till now. Eckler going to be wasted in Washington. Slay, why get rid of both receivers? Well, Mike, because of the money and just the injuries, that he's just been dogged the whole time. And Keenan, because someone was willing to take on the entire contract and trade you a draft pick for him. I think that's why, part of this is financial. Whole receiving core constantly hurt. Time for a change. Yeah, look, I think you could say the same thing about Joey, but when it comes to Joey, you're talking about someone who's willing to restructure and restructure on a very team-friendly, bet-on-himself contract for this next year. So to me, that's why you end up keeping him. And I think for Jesse Minter, the idea where you've got issues on the back end where you don't, your linebackers right now are Deion Henley and Nick Neiman, who have been primarily special teams players. And you have one corner, potentially, I guess technically two. Jasir started in the slot a number of times, and Asante. So you got to make sure your pass rush is sound. If you have a dominant front, now you can have an average back and have, it connect and be complementary. So I think that's why you bring Joey back, because he was willing to do the restructured deal and take a pretty significant hit this year and bet on himself. Let's see, craziest Chargers offseason ever. I agree. And you know what? Why not? Why not? We've had one playoff win in the last decade. A wild card win in Baltimore because Marty Mornhinweg decided to go in that game throwing the ball all over the place, which made no sense. So why not completely reset and redo it and take a different approach? Let's see. Super bummed. Keenan, totally get it. Marvin Harrison, I don't think so. I think Marvin's going 4. I don't think you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks with JJ unless Minnesota gets crazy and decides to trade up, for him, thinking maybe the Giants are going to take him at 6. You could still, catch a heater there and maybe get a first rounder for next year and still get a dominant player, back at, like, best case is you sell the Giants on the idea that Minnesota wants to come up to take JJ and they really want him and they're willing to give you like a 3, or a 4 just to go up from 6 to 5 and you still get Neighbors or a Dunze. To me, that's like best case now. That's ultimate best case. Sorry, let's see. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. Details, Keenan for a 4th. That's pretty much all. That's it. Those are the details. And that he was not willing to take a pay cut, and that's what led to it. Sposa is the last San Diego Charger. But they're in year 8, so, obviously. Drafted Marvin Harrison. I think so, too. I think the Cardinals will take him. I don't think you're going to go get Justin Jefferson because then you got to pay him, and you're already paying the quarterback. I would just as soon go get one of these 3 receivers. I think they're all going to be great. I appreciate that. I adapt. Thank you. I disagree, but appreciate it. It's very kind. Need to move up? Don't need to move up. that definitely is not. If anything, you move back. JP stud. QJ will be fine. Wide receiver draft. Exactly. Ninny. Trade out of the option. Now, I think unless you get a complete haul, Mike, if someone wants to come up and give you a 1 next year and they're 2 this year, then you probably got to listen to it. Keon Coleman, exactly. That's exactly right. Just say JC. This is a deep wide receiver class. You can get Keon. You can get Pearsall. You can get these guys probably with 37 as well. Surfer of the Month did not open up any doors in the Heartland. Got to get moving. It's already midnight here. They waited 4 days after tampering period to trade him. Well, because he wouldn't redo his deal. I think that's what happened, Gavin. Is you got Khalil agreed to redo it. Joey agreed to redo it. Clearly they wanted to keep him, but they wanted him to take a pay cut, redo the deal so they could get some cap relief to try to build out this roster. And when he said no, I don't know the particulars, but my guess is they're like, all right, whatever. I got 2 team players and a guy that's not a team player. You're 33 years old. Help the team out. We're trying to build, something here where we can take on the Chiefs, and we need to restock this roster, and we need to have a little bit more money and flexibility. Can you help us out? No, I can't, which is fine. He's got the right to do that. The guy had over 100 catches last year and 1,100 something yards in 12 games or 13 games. So you've got the right to say that. But if you do, understand there could be consequences. And now you don't get to finish your career as a Charger. And now you're in Chicago, on a team that's going to be breaking in a rookie quarterback in a division with a Lions team and a Packers team that look like they're, a couple steps ahead of you. So that's just the reality of the situation. I don't think the staff didn't want him, but they were hoping that he would help them out. And I think when you say no, okay, well, there you go. It's kind of like when you go in and you ask your boss for a raise and he gives you an answer that you don't want to hear. You got to be prepared for those consequences. And if you say, well, then I don't want to keep working here, okay, well, then you're gone. See you later. Here's your severance package. Goodbye. So, Neighbors, agree. I think, look, I would love to see Neighbors. What beer? It's just Bud Light. But in my defense, I had a couple, I was at a German beer house earlier, Glutix, and I was having their local fare. I had a Pilsner, and I had one of their IPAs. It was very good. Haydenhurst is a beast. Look, they got tight ends that can block. Love it. What else we got? Ravens look great. Hurts for Keenan, agree. Weird to see the Chargers go full Petros, hard-nosed football. It's Harbaugh football, man. It's what he does. Physical, toughness, beat the hell out of you, drag you into the deep end, and pull you under in the fourth quarter. Ruin their draft. I don't know what that means. Justin is not crying right now. I don't think so. To be honest, Linda, I think he's fine. He can make anybody great. Justin Justin is, even though Keenan gets all those catches and stuff, think about what he did with T. Billy and with Guyton and with Hunter. Like when he had all those complement of weapons, he just threw to the open man. He can make I think he can make Josh Palmer a 1,200-yard receiver. I really believe that. Yeah, I agree. They call me Joey. I think that Ortiz and Harbaugh, are building this thing in their image and what they want. Only a fourth. He's 33. Yeah, here we go. That he's gone. Man, I think we're way down. Trade your bed player to the worst team in the coldest market. Thank you for your service. Hey, that's where they got the offer. Oh, shoot. Went to the end. Where am I? Wow, we got a lot of these. Neighbors greater than a Dunze. I think they're similar. I have no problem with either. How do comp picks work? So comp picks, geez, I'm way back. Let me see if I can top 5 pick. Wide receiver at number 5. Okay, so I already did that. You think we get Bowers or Joe Alt maybe? Okay, so let's see. So I am not fluidity, perfect description. I feel like I saw these. Where am I? Sorry, I want to get through these. Favorite sandwich and beer spot in Seal Beach. And I love Dave's Cosmic Subs. 100%. Love it, Jim Juice. Big fan. Wow, we got a lot of these. Holy cow. Okay, here we go. But yeah, I already saw those. Sorry, trade your best players. I saw that. Never high on Mike Williams. Love Keenan. Think the Bolts are doing the right thing, though. Love Mike Williams. One of the best 50-50 ball receivers in the league, if not the best, but just couldn't stay healthy. We all wanted Harbaugh. This comes with it. Yeah, true. Did the Sabres. Okay, here we go. So sad. Yeah, I understand. Look, a lot of 13 jerseys out there. I get it. Tom T put us in this mess. Now he's killing the faders. I love Tom. You know that. So not going to say anything bad about Tom. But we'll see what he's got going, with the Raiders. I kind of like where the Chargers are at now, to be honest. Malik Neighbors, I'm fine with that. Would you call us rebuilding? No. Manny, I would not call this rebuilding. I think they're just building it the way they believe they're going to win football games. I think the fact that they restructured Mack and Bosa shows you that they're not rebuilding, that they think they got a shot at this with that kind of pass rush up front. Draft goes QB. Yeah, then Marvin Harrison Jr. I think is obvious. Stop forcing the ball. Yeah, you got to run the ball. They couldn't run the ball. Who is Davis? 100%. Start running the ball, man. Get that play action to work. Get that downfield ball working. They could not get that going at all. The fact that Justin Herbert is, he should be in like the high 7s to 8s in yards per attempt. Process. Mike Williams, Shih Tzu Staley. Well, you put him inside, and that's how you get hurt. I think they could trade down. Chargers could be the Rams of 23, need to draft well. Yeah, possible, Baron, but they do have to draft really well. I mean, the Rams knocked it out of the freaking park last year in their draft. Tall receivers are valuable, but so are fast ones. 100%. That's what's great about Adunze is he's both. I'm talking about 6'3", 218 pounds, and freaking fast as all heck. Establish a run game. They have to. They have not had a run game in over a decade. So, yeah, Gavin, I think in terms of it is okay to question the front office. Certainly, we all want stars to retire with the team, but Devontae Adams is a Raider. Aaron Rodgers is a Jet. At some point, that's just using the Packers as an example. I think it all comes down to how everything fits financially and on a timeline. Any free agent wide receivers the Chargers should look at? I don't think they would. I don't think so. I think they probably like their guys. And I think, the draft is probably where they're going to get a little bit more of a benefit out of that, especially considering how expensive receivers are right now. Neighbors, Harrison... Yeah, we already did this. Fluidity, top 5 pick. Doozy tape is insanely polished. Exactly. I have not apologized to VTB. Exactly, Tom. Dunze destroyed USC and everybody. They already have 2 tight ends. Yeah, wide receiver pick at 5. I like Bowers, but I think you can get tight ends in later rounds. I think getting that number 1 receiver, especially considering the money, seeing how much money these guys are getting paid, is crazy. Let's see. Timing's weird. Oh, shoot. Marshawn Lloyd. Yeah, I think they're going to draft a running back. But for me, I would love to see them get J.K. Dobbins. God, I just feel like that's one that could be really special. Coming off the Achilles, he's already had a knee. Take the flyer. 1-year incentive-laden deal with its second-year option, maybe if he hits certain benchmarks to let him cash in that way. I would love to see both Ravens running backs. Dobbins is special, man, if he's healthy. So that's kind of one of the things I have my fingers crossed for with this newfound money they have. Let's see. Competing next year, 100% I do, Puff Daddy. I absolutely see them competing. The fact that they brought back Khalil and Joey and Thule and have that 3-man rotation up front and have Justin Herbert on the other side, 100% see them competing. Odds that Harrison falls to 5, I think there's a possibility, Jack. I don't think it's likely, but I think there's a possibility if a team is that smitten with J.J. McCarthy to jump all the way up there. I don't think he goes for OBJ, Eric. I don't see that. Bolts double dip at wide receiver, snag 1 at 5. Yeah, I don't see why not. Why wouldn't you take one late if it's a deep class? We know it's a premium position now, but they need corners too. So yes, never buy a jersey with your hero on it. What I would say, HBB is buy retired, or just don't buy jerseys. Like, to me, just why wear a jersey? Get a hooded sweatshirt. They're more comfortable, and you're good. Get a Chargers hooded sweatshirt. That would be my approach. Yeah, got to have a running game to close games out, 100%. Opinion on the free agent market right now, that's what I was saying. I think, Popper and I talked about this on the Chargers Weekly Pod. There's a couple centers out there. He loves Allen. I would agree with that. I'd be fine with that. There goes my backpack. And I would not mind J.K. Dobbins at all at running back as well. So that's probably, I think Kendall Fuller got signed today. I wouldn't mind seeing a corner. But those are just 2 off the top of my head. Let's see what else we got. Trench team, Pound Fools, I'm with you. Yeah, a lot of Vic deserves an apology, 100%. I don't know who signs OBJ, Eric. Not quite sure. Yeah, K9 King of missed tackles. Exactly, Hayden. Guy was just, I'd see him run by way too many freaking guys. K9 got paid more than that. That's a little wild, but that just goes to show you, man, kind of what the league is. Chargers defense looks like they need some bodies. Defensive line, linebacker, corners. They got to figure this thing out. So I think they signed a D lineman today. Comp picks, how do they work? So Kenneth Murray, his contract expired. The 5th-year option, even though they declined it, that's a league-mandated option, so it's not a portion of the contract that they cut. So they just let him walk. So when he walks, he signs for X number of dollars, and depending on the level of play, you will get a return, a comp pick in return, because you lost that player whose contract had expired. Same thing with Austin Eckler. His contract expired. He was not cut. So like in the case last year, the 4 years of Drew Tranquill ran out. He played for Kansas City, played at a high level. They signed Eric Kendricks, but he was cut by the Vikings, so there was no comp pick involved in that. So basically, they lost Tranquill, the guy that they signed, and I'm just using that as an example. They signed a bunch of other players, and other players got signed away. But that's kind of how it works, is there's a formula based on how much they sign for, how productive they are, is what the value of the comp pick is. And if you bring in fewer players that count as comp picks for the team they're leaving, then your players count for comp picks on your team. That's how the league does the equation. So this year, right now, Eckler, Kenneth Murray, I'm trying to think of who else was out there that got signed, but there's players that you would get comp picks, for based on how much they signed for and where they end up signing. And you always want to try to sign guys that were cut or don't factor into the comp formula so you can pile up, those picks come next year. So right now they just have one, that extra seventh for Tranquill, but next year they're going to try to build more of that. Chances will Dissly produce right away. Antonio Gates, no, he's not that type of player. Dissly is a blocking tight end who has receiving capabilities, who's capable in the receiving game, but is a very good blocking tight end. So that's, Gates was more of a move and a receiving tight end. So very different players. But that's what they need. You need to be able to park a tight end outside of Trey Pipkins because Slater's good on the island and he's going to block his guy. But the Raiders are parking Max Crosby over there opposite Trey Pipkins, and he's beating him like a drum all game. And Harbaugh, and Herbert's in 10 quarterback pressures, 6 quarterback hits, 2 sacks because Crosby's just eaten because you have a tight end that can't block. And Pipkins is getting destroyed. So now you get someone like Dissly or Hurst over there and a big back like Edwards to help as well. That's, what you're trying to build. MHJ is the dream, yeah. I think Arizona will take him. I'm with you. Fields is terrible. Marico. Fields is terrible. Guy's got one 300-yard passing game in his career, I think. Does he even have a 300-yard passing game? He may have none. I mean, look at his sack numbers. 44 one year, 55 the next. He's not good. He's not good. And to keep him and have to pay him $30 or $40 million is crazy. What do I think they do at center? I think they draft. I think they definitely draft one. Love the guy to Penn State, guy to Wisconsin. I think you could probably get them in the fourth. One of the two you could probably get in the 4th round. That's what I would do. Have Nick Hardwick coach the hell out of him and coach him up into a great player. Augie's is not open, Kev. I'm stoked that Joey's coming back, Steph. I'm very excited, especially on the deal and the fact that he was willing to recognize that he hasn't been healthy and that he had to take a pay cut and an incentive-laden deal, and he's going to be out to prove it. I'm very excited about that. And considering who their defensive coordinator is in Jesse Minter, to have those 3 guys now and the fact you can play all 3 of them because you can move Joey inside, you can move Thule inside, and have all 3 of them on the field. I think Popper posted the number. It was a limited number, 44 snaps, 10 sacks on 44 snaps with those 3 guys out there. So I'm very excited. Yeah, that's interesting. T. Higgins is an interesting one with their second. Yeah. If you trade back, that's interesting. Didn't think about that. If you give up your 2, which is 37 for T. Higgins, and then you trade back from 5, to get your tackle or corner, you get Mitchell or Arnold, and then you pick up your second there. Not a bad idea. I'd be all right with that. I don't know where Fields is going to end up. I really don't. Now that Seattle traded for Howell, I thought that was a possibility. It just goes to show you, like the people in Chicago, they're like, oh, keep Fields. Look at the market. There's no market for him. It's crazy. Neighbors are a Dunze. Andrew, yes, either. I'm totally good with either. I think I already talked about the centers. The first and third games, not the IUPS. Yeah, no, I did that too. Nathan, I do the night games. So I do everything. I do the 5:30 slot. So tomorrow, I'll have Illinois, Ohio State, and then I'll have IU, Nebraska. Big win. Not a big win for the Spanos, our cheap narrative. Not at all, Gavin. They could have cut all 4 guys. That would have been the cheap narrative. Instead, they kept 2. You know, they redid a contract for Khalil. They redid a contract for, like, the Spanos' cheap narrative is over. Like, do you understand this coaching staff and the front office? They're making over $30 million. Like $30 million for this staff and this front office. That's what they're paying to try to put a winner out there. They just gave Justin Herbert the richest contract in NFL history before Burrow passed it, 2 days later. Like, come on. That's just crazy. Telesco's fault? No. Need to get younger. Yes, we do need linebackers. Hack steady. Agree. What was for dinner? I ate it. There was like nothing. So I just ate a freaking sandwich at the German beer house. Sausage sandwich. That was it. Trade their pick. What's my mock draft looking like now, Andrew? It looks a lot more like wide receiver than it did, 6 hours ago. Harbaugh ate crap for a couple years before he won anything. That's not true, Tom. Won immediately in San Diego. Inherited a 1-win team at Stanford, and I think in 3 years, had Stanford competitive when Pete Carroll was dominating the Pac-12. So it's not easy to turn around that quickly, and then inherited a 6-10 team with San Francisco and was 13-3 the next year. Michigan, obviously, it took a minute, and then turned them into an absolute force. Coaching staff has balls, others have not. Agree. Love it. Thank you. Appreciate you. Gambled on pay cuts, overstepped with Keenan. Now that set the team back. No, that's not the case. Not the case at all. Can't do anything with the cap we gained either. Of course you can. There's still a ton of stuff with the cap you've gained. There's still trades available. There's still players out there. There are players that are going to get cut. Like Keenan got moved. You can now trade for players. Enjoy having a Bud Light in your hour as well. All right, I got to finish this thing. All right. How many do we have left? Oh, my God. We got a ton left. I'm so sorry, everybody. All right. Always having your thumb. Mock draft first round. Like I said, I think wide receiver. Agree, Ed is great. Love Ed McGuire. Coach Harbaugh, say your name or Petros' name. I hope we get him on the weekly interview. We'll see. What do you think is the next move? I said I think they probably draft receiver, is what I'm guessing. I like them all. Love the Crows. Love the Allman Brothers. I don't think Greg Allman's overlooked. I think he's often cited as, one of the all-time greats. Build through draft. True. Okay, let me just get through a few of these. Defense dominate. Mike Dubb's not going to go to the Swifties. They traded for Hollywood, or they signed Hollywood Brown today. Justin Jefferson, I just don't see that. All right, I think we got it. I think we're pretty good. All right, everybody. I think that's it. It's 12:20 my time. I got to get to bed. I got 2 more games tomorrow. So thanks so much. If I didn't get to your comment, I know there were a lot of them, but I appreciate y'all. Really do. Happy we could do it. I think we ended up going for a while. All right, I'm just going to scroll and stop. We're going to be good. Who do we, regarding linebackers? Speaking of comp picks, with all the money we have to spend, comp picks flying out the window. I agree. I disagree. I don't think they would do that. I think the approach is making sure you get comp picks next year. All right. Appreciate y'all. From Minnesota, good night. And tomorrow's another day. Can't wait to see what it brings. All right. Thanks, everybody.